For this project, I started with a 7 by 9 inch picture frame that I had picked up from a garage sale. I took the backing out, I took the glass out, I cleaned up the glass, I cleaned up the frame, and then I took Elmer's glue and put it around the back of the perimeter of the frame where the glass sits, the little ledge that the glass sits on. Now, previous to this, I had been using silicone caulking, which holds fine, but someone told me about Elmer's glue, actually a lady named Wendy, who watches my videos, and she says she's never had any problems with it. And when I started reading about silicone caulk and the fumes that it emits, this Elmer's glue is much safer, so I thought, wow, I'm going to give it a try. So what I did was I put it around the perimeter, put the glass back in, and then put another bead of it all the way around the back of the perimeter with the glass in also. And the next day, after it had dried for 24 hours, I went ahead and put one more bead of Elmer's glue around the back and let it dry for another 24 hours just to be cautious. So the purpose of sealing the glass in there serves two purposes. It holds the glass in place, and it also helps to prevent any resin leaks when you put resin on the other side of the glass. Next, I cut out a piece of paper in the shape that I wanted the chick's body to be, and I took that and I taped that to the back of the glass just to use as a template. And the glass that you see sitting in the left-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner of the picture is actually ASHLAND decorative filler. It's a crushed reflective glass that I picked up at Michael's. And then I took Krylon stained glass spray paint, the color canary yellow, and gave it about 5 coats of the spray paint. And then I just went ahead and used the template to put the glass down on so I knew where I wanted it. Then I went through my bag of black stones and found 2 round ones that I thought would be perfect for the eyes, and I gave it several coats of white paint. And while that was drying, I got out my vitrograph glass. This is long strings of glass that people make in all sorts of colors, and you can order it online and several people's Etsy shops. This one happens to be from J&L Glass Designs. Then I used my nippers to cut it into small pieces to make the feet, and I kind of had to move it around with the pencil to get it where I wanted it to be, but it kind of rolls around on you. And then I took my 2 white eyes and I made pupils in them. And I kind of messed around with this for a while because at first I had the 2 eyes kind of pointing at each other. I thought they would be cute, but next I took black marker, the same marker I used for the eyes, and I drew a little curly-Q hair on the top. And I made a little beak for it, which I end up changing later. Then I decide I don't like those eyes, and I put the eyes in the center and kind of mess around with that a little bit. And then I decide I don't like the beak either, so I make a whole nother beak. And then finally I end up with a triangle for a beak and the pupil centered in the middle. I thought that looked best. And now I'm ready for the resin. When I use resin, I wear a respirator, I use gloves, I try to do it in a well-ventilated area. Actually, this time I'm doing it outside. I'm using ClearCast 7000. This is actually a resin without any VOCs, dangerous fumes. This is a 1-to-1 ratio resin, 1 part resin to 1 part hardener. When you first put it in the cup together, it's clear. When you start mixing it, it becomes cloudy. You're supposed to mix it for about 3 minutes. The slower you mix it, the less bubbles you'll get. I know it looks like I'm mixing it real fast, but I have the video sped way up. You're supposed to scrape the bottoms and scrape the sides to assure thorough mixing. And you'll notice it, the longer you mix it, it'll start turning clear again. And after about 3 minutes and the resin's clear, it's ready to be put on the project. I usually spoon the resin over the glass first to make sure everything's real saturated, and then I take and put the resin all the way around the perimeter. I know they say resin is self-leveling, but you really need to push it up into the corners and along the sides to make sure everything's covered. Then I use my kitchen torch to go over it to get rid of the bubbles, and I'm also popping some of the bubbles with the toothpick I have there, and then I go over it again. And a lot of times when you pour resin over real light glass like this, you have to kind of push it back into place. Some will kind of float away a little bit. And then I take some rubbing alcohol and clean up around the frame any drips. It works really well for any drips on the frame. I use it on my hands. They say you really shouldn't use it on your hands because it'll break down the resin and it'll allow it to be absorbed. So the next morning I got up and this is what he looked like. So I guess you can't use magic marker, or I needed to let it dry more. And then the little hair that I have there, it looks like it got a little bit lighter. So I go ahead and I repaint his eyes, and then I take some black paint and I go over his hair again to make that a little bit darker. And I repaint his pupil in the middle. And I ended up mixing up way too much resin, so I had to quick think of something else to do. So I had this frame that was already prepared, and I tried to make a little flower out of it. And didn't turn out quite the way I wanted, but after messing with it a little bit, it kind of looked like a tulip. Then with the rest of the resin, I took this metallic gold mica powder, got it all over myself, but mixed it into the resin and poured it into this heart-shaped mold. This is actually top to a trinket box, I think that's what you'd call it, that I had made the bottom for already with extra resin, so I still needed the top. And you'll notice me with the toothpick pushing all into the corners, and at the very end I'll tell you why I did that. And then I take the little kitchen torch and blow out the bubbles. And then I still have a little bit more left, so I get out another mold and I make some little turtles and starfish with the remainder of it. I hate to waste any of the resin, but it's always good to have something handy just in case you have extra resin, you can make something else. Hey everyone, I hope you liked the chickie video. I think it turned out real cute. So this project was sealed with just Elmer's glue, and you can see it had no leaks. I didn't put any of the tape around the edges or anything, and look at the back, it dries perfectly clear. You can't see it. No problems. Well, now I did have a problem with the magic marker. So as you saw, the magic marker ran when I put the resin on. Not at first, but I think it was the next morning when I got up, I noticed that. And then the magic marker didn't come out real dark on his little twirlies up there. So I did end up repainting the eyes and then putting the black dots in and then using the marker to redo the twirlies. And I may or may not resin over that part. I haven't decided yet, but I think he looks really cute. I was pleasantly surprised. And I used the vitrograph glass for his little feet, but I could have just as well drawn them in also. So I'm going to get some paint markers and use those. If any of you have had experience with the permanent marker, Sharpie markers, with it running or having problems with it, because I feel like it also, once I put the resin over this top part, it seemed to lighten up. So I don't know if any of you guys have had experience with that, what kind of markers you use, any suggestions, any comments. I'd like to hear from you. So I am gonna, like I said, buy some paint markers and see if those don't work better, because I really don't have a steady hand for painting, so it's easier for me to use like a marker or something when it's fine lines like that, or you know, the circles or something like the feet. But anyway, I hope you liked him. I think he turned out so cute. But anyway, so after this, I had extra resin, so I made, of course, this, which didn't turn out like I thought it would. I think these would have kind of looked cuter. It didn't hold up. I thought it would stay in the cookie cutter shape. But this I think would have looked cuter if it had the my green tumbled glass. But it's okay. And so it's good to have stuff available to make something quick if you find that you have extra resin. so you don't waste the resin. So this had already been sealed. I had already sealed it with some silicone. And I want to show you the difference in the back. And they say that, so anyway, with the Elmer's glue that I used on this, and it's so clear and looks so perfect on the back. And then look at this. That's with the silicone. It's really kind of messy. I'm sure I could have done a neater job, but I mean, that looks beautiful. And I've been kind of doing a little bit of research, and I didn't realize that silicone you should really be wearing a respirator or some kind of a mask with, because not only when you're squeezing it out onto your project, but also when you are, when it's curing, it emits these fumes that are really bad for you. So I am going to be using Elmer's glue, and I can thank Wendy for that. She showed me, or told me about that that's what she's been using and has never had any leaks. And my gosh, it turned out beautiful. You can't even see it. So I hope you learned something from that, or maybe you guys knew already. Anyway, so I had that extra resin, and I did the this. And I also did the little heart, which is a top to a trinket box. So I had purchased these 3 trinket boxes, a square, a hexagon, and a heart. And they come with a bottom and a top. And the last time that I had extra resin, I made the bottom. I mixed some gold paint in there. And so, but I didn't have enough to make the top. So this time I had just enough left, and I made the top to it. So that's another thing you can do with your extra resin. And the reason I was using that little toothpick and pushing it around the sides was because on these 2 previous trinket boxes that I did, and these are real cute. I think they turned out cute like that. But look up in the edges. It looks like someone took a bite out of them. So I should have took a toothpick and whoops, here, there you go, maybe you can see. I should have took a toothpick. I don't know if you can see it better from the front or the back. I should have took a toothpick and kind of pushed the resin in there and made sure it went in. So that's a little tip about these. And the same thing happened on this pink heart. There's just one little corner up at the very corner that is missing just a tiny bit of resin. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but if you're, you know, selling them or giving it as a gift, you want the whole thing complete. I was going over my cousin's in Jacksonville this weekend, and she has some grandkids. I thought maybe they would get a kick out of them, so I was going to give them to them. Anyway, it's always a good idea to have something that you can do with your extra resin readily available, so you don't feel like you're wasting it. So anyway, I hope you liked my little chickie, and hope you learned something new. If you have any comments or suggestions, or have been using the Elmer's glue all along, that's great. And you know, I was telling you about the silicone and the fumes that it emits. Well, that E6000 is just as bad, and so is the oh, what is the other stuff I use? The liquid nails, which I really like. And you know, you just need to wear a respirator and do it in a well-ventilated area for any of those things if you're going to use them. But I really didn't realize, a lot of times I don't read directions on labels. I just kind of, you know, wing it, because I can sometimes be impatient at times and want to get the project done. But it's really important to read the labels. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.